Chapter 1780 for Trojan Implantation. Zhang Yi waited until he confirmed that the alien team of Barada had left before he quickly opened the dimensional door and rushed to the battlefield. On the way, he did not forget to bring Ling, the world line, because she knew everything about the local area better than anyone else. Is there any way to block the satellite monitoring here? Zhang Yi asked Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin. Of course, doing such things must be done quietly. It can be done, but it will also alert the enemy. At that time, Fremons will also suspect us. Lu Karen said. Is there any good ways? Zhang Yi asked. What does it matter? Can't we just pretend to be a mechanical civilization? Anyway, as long as they can't see it, even if they suspect it's you, they can't do anything to you. Ling interrupted with a smile at this time. Lu Karen also said, these mechanical life forms do have powerful anti-reconnaissance capabilities. Their technology is enough to block the reconnaissance of any technological products of human civilization. Zhang Yi thought of the deep pit where the mechanical army appeared and couldn't help but smile and nodded. Good idea. After arriving in this area, he saw the wreckage of mechanical life forms all over the ground. Lu Karen had already used means to interfere with the satellite's monitoring of the entire area. Doing so would immediately attract the attention of Fremons, but in the current period when mechanical civilization is active, this situation often happens. In addition, a large-scale war had just occurred here not long ago, so Fremons would not have any doubts. Zhang Yi walked up to a severely damaged mechanical life form, and a mechanical tool popped out of the arm of the Qianlong armor, directly prying open its torso. Similar to the brain, or the position of the mechanical center, Zhang Yi took out an energy core the size of a marble. It is hard to imagine that such a small core has enough powerful energy to support its long-term operation. It's really picking up sesame seeds and losing watermelons. Zhang Yi smiled at the corner of his mouth, and then he directly opened the dimensional door. The huge dimensional door opened in the sky, covering all the surrounding space. The wreckage of the mechanical life form slowly rose into the air and sank into Zhang Yi's alien space. In less than a minute, it was all over. Then, Zhang Yi entered Mu Yan's shadow. When the host body was lost, Mu Yan's shadow was a 4-element pocket, 2-dimensional, but connected to the outside world, but it was difficult to be found. This shadow quickly chased in the direction where the Barada convoy left. Less than an hour later, Fremon's engineering transport plane roared and landed in this area. The engineers were fully armed and planned to use the large-scale handling equipment in the transport plane to transport these mechanical life forms back in hundreds of times. But when they landed, they looked around and were dumbfounded. Didn't they say that there are many mechanical life wreckages here? Did we go to the wrong place? An engineer took a special look at the location marked on the communication equipment. That's right. The marked location is Grota City. They searched nearby for a long time without giving up, but in fact, this was just deceiving themselves because it was said that there were tens of thousands of mechanical life forms here. If there were any, they would be found at a glance. In the end, they confirmed that there were no so-called large numbers of mechanical life forms here. The captain of the engineering team had to report the situation here to the top management. The situation was transmitted to the ears of Bodaka layer by layer. At this time, he was happy that his plan had paid off so quickly, and he had a team of aliens from other countries come to work for them. But after hearing the news, he frowned in displeasure. We have just confirmed through satellite that a large-scale war has taken place here. It is impossible that nothing is left, the captain of the engineering team said helplessly, but there is indeed nothing here. Bodaka's face changed slightly, and a trace of panic appeared in his heart that was originally filled with joy. After he confirmed the location again and again, he asked someone to use spy satellites to shoot the area. But when he saw the images transmitted back, he was completely dumbfounded. Just as the engineering team said, there was only a ruin here. Where was the shadow of any mechanical life form? Indra. What a cunning guy. Bodaka slammed the table angrily. His eyes were grim, and his tone was cold. You're playing tricks on me, right? It's simply too much. If you didn't plan to let them clean up the battlefield at the beginning, then don't agree so readily. Now that their people have arrived, they found that there is nothing left on the battlefield. Isn't this an insult? Badaka thought that this was intentional by Bharata's men and was very dissatisfied. However, he could not question Indra. After all, he would need Bharata's troops to support them. Badaka swallowed hard, as if he wanted to swallow this humiliation temporarily. But in his heart, he had already made a note of this account. On the other side, Bharata's special train, which was still unaware of the situation, was running on the snowfield, heading straight for Samaran City. No one noticed that a shadow was moving faster. Speed, along the ground, is rapidly approaching them. Under the cover of Zhang Yi's ability, he can smooth out all the fluctuations in the surrounding space, approach silently, and no one will be able to discover their whereabouts. Just like a black carpet clinging to the ground, it gradually caught up with the train running on the snowfield and then stuck to the surface of the train like a sticker. There is no lack of shadows inside the train during the day, and the shadows blend into it, even more like antelopes hanging horns, leaving no trace. At this time, Emperor Shirtian was in his own carriage, enjoying the service of the maids and exquisite food. In any case, this time it can be regarded as a victory. When he arrives in Samaran City, he can brag to Fremons and other countries. Especially when he encounters the Huashu country's alien team, he must not be lowered in front of them. He must grit his teeth and say that he didn't spend much effort to solve the mechanical army. Anyway, Zhang Yi and others didn't know that many people died in the battle. As for the huge energy core, it was placed in the next carriage and guarded by 3 confidants of Emperor Shirtian. This thing is too big to carry. It is always a bit strange for a person of Emperor Shirtian's status to carry a huge ball around him wherever he goes. But Emperor Shirtian is not worried about its safety. He never thought that in Fremon's land, who would snatch it, and who has the strength to take it away from him. In the second carriage of the train, 3 Bharata aliens sat on the floor, with a huge metal box in the middle. These 3 people are the elites of the heavenly people, Duo Qingshan, Libby Ishan, and Ryuishan. Duo Qingshan is a strange monk with dark skin and a naked skinny upper body. Libby Ishan is a woman, wearing a white combat uniform with a ruby on her nose, and Ryuishan is a strong man with a cold face and a body as strong as an iron tower. The 3 people surrounded the metal box containing the energy core of the super-large mechanical life form in the middle, staring at it without blinking. They knew that this thing was very important, so after being asked by Emperor Shirtian to take good care of it, they did not dare to slack off. In the shadows, Muyen had already appeared here, watching them with Zhang Yi. It's very good news that Emperor Shirtian didn't guard it himself. Zhang Yi had a happy smile on his face. This situation couldn't be better. He knew that without the ability of space, no one could take it with them wherever they went. After all, it takes 5 or 6 hours to take a train from here to Samaran City. They always need to go to the toilet and eat or sleep. A proud and conceited guy like Emperor Shirtian would not take on the job of guarding items. Originally, Zhang Yi was still considering whether Emperor Shirtian would let Azura guard it. After all, the Bharata people should not trust Gao Changkong that much. But it seems that he can't trust anyone. Now the problem is here. The 3 people in front of him are only captain-level strength, and their abilities are unknown. Zhang Yi can kill them in seconds and then leave with the energy core. But as long as he takes action, it will inevitably attract the attention of the 3 people in the front carriage. If things get out of hand, it will not be of any benefit to him. Therefore, it is necessary to get rid of these 3 people silently in an instant without making any noise. Then take the energy core and leave. However, whether to kill these 3 people is also a question. If they have an accident, Emperor Shirtian and others will also be able to find the problem and suspect Zhang Yi, who is the closest to the team. It is easy to take things away, but how to get rid of all suspicion is the most difficult. After discussing with Yang Xinxin, Zhang Yi finally came up with a good idea. He patiently lurked in the shadows and followed the train. There is a mountain range ahead. If the train wants to pass through here, it must pass through a long and narrow tunnel. The three guards focused on the box and did not notice what was happening outside. When the train boomed into the tunnel, the change in light in an instant made their eyes uncomfortable. The whole carriage darkened in an instant. The intelligent light sensing system in the car will automatically turn on the lights when it senses dim light, but there will always be a moment of darkness in the middle. At this moment, Muyen suddenly rushed to the bottom of the three people and the metal box, then opened the door of the shadow space and dragged them all in. The three aliens were horrified, but they didn't even have time to make a sound before they were directly controlled by Zhang Yi, Liang Yu, and others. The three looked at Zhang Yi and others in amazement, not understanding what was going on. Zhang Yi didn't talk nonsense with them. He had already told the people around him what to do in advance. So Lu Kuran came over with a bunch of instruments in his hand and skillfully disassembled the metal box. The exquisite craftsmanship of Barada was childish, like a child's toy in front of her, and it opened with a light touch. The huge energy core was taken out, and then a bunch of discarded mechanical life materials were stuffed into it, and then the box was locked again. The three Barada aliens saw this scene. Their eyes were bloodshot. They knew very well how difficult it was for them to get this thing. Now someone picked the fruit. They were extremely angry. The three people stared at Zhang Yi and others, their eyes full of ruthlessness. But Zhang Yi didn't even bother to look at them. He would not tolerate the Barada people who had invaded the southwest region and took advantage of the fire to loot. It's time to deal with the three of them. Yang Xinshin directly activated the ability of the Angel of Desire. The angel pulled the longbow to its full extent, and three red feather arrows shot into their brows. Yang Xinshin's ability is the rule system, which can change people's cognition and control their minds. This is a psychological suggestion similar to strong hypnosis, but it has irresistible and irreversible properties. Now, I order you to forget everything that just happened. You have been guarding this box all the time, and you have never left that carriage. Yang Xinshin's voice was imprinted in their minds like a spell and became an iron rule that they could not violate. Yang Xinshin was not interested in improving her combat effectiveness, but she was a pragmatist. In order to make her abilities more convenient, she also accepted Zhang Yi's ability training. After consuming a large amount of the centipede essence, her ability index has now reached 9,900 points. This matter once made many people in the shelter depressed for a long time. To improve the ability index of others, not only do they have to absorb a large amount of essence, but they also have to train hard and tap their potential. But for Yang Xinshin, improving her ability index is as easy as drinking water. And her ability has become stronger and stronger, even strong enough to implant memories. This is her newly developed ability, Trojan implantation. Just like a virus invading a computer, her thinking allows the brain of the person who is shot to be controlled by her and affects his memory. And this is only the initial stage. When this ability becomes stronger, it can even implant new memories into people's minds out of thin air. However, doing so has extremely high requirements for the ability user himself. First of all, Yang Xinshin needs to create a memory without any loopholes to replace the original memory of the person who was shot. Without meticulous thinking and super high IQ, it is impossible to use this ability perfectly. This is an ability that Yang Xinshin likes very much. She hates mediocrity and enjoys excitement more. After the three people were shot, their eyes became dull for a moment. The next moment, the three were sent back to the carriage, and the metal box also appeared among the three. The whole process took less than 10 seconds. Zhang Yi had already got what he wanted, and a shadow quickly left the train and went away in another direction. By the time they found out that something was wrong in the box, they had already gone far away from here. By that time, they could not suspect Zhang Yi. Even if they suspected, they could not provide substantial evidence. In a compartment on the train, Gao Changkong was originally sitting on a soft sofa, with his hands crossed in front of him, thinking about something with his eyes closed. Suddenly, he looked out the window with a little doubt in his eyes. A pair of soft hands were massaging his shoulders behind him. Seeing this, Gu Man smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Gao Changkong frowned, then smiled and shook his head and said, "Nothing, I just thought of some past events. He can only use the ability of reincarnation deduction once a day. And he will only be affected when he encounters a superior time-based ability user. The first mistake was when he met Zhang Yi. The second mistake was when he met Emperor Shirtian in Bharata.